Good afternoon, crafters. It's Paula here. We are now up to card number 3 in our Furry Merry Christmas little set that I've been running. If you are interested in the cards I've been putting together, you can actually receive a little kit alongside the stamp set for an extra $10, and you'll get all the little bits and pieces I've been showing you that we've been using to make these cards. So just get in touch with me if that is something of interest to you. So the third card is quite a little simple, sweet one, but you can see it's got a nice little shine and bling to it. So it's just a fun thing to show you as another idea with this cute little set with little puppies and kittens. So in your envelope, you will have, let's just open it up, you will have a little bit of the cardstock here, a bit of the evergreen and the black. You'll have a little piece of white daisy, and you will need to pre-cut or stamp and then pre-cut 2 elements from the stamp set. Now in your kit you do get an extra sheet of 6 inches by 6 inch white daisy card, and that is for you to do these little extra stamping on. I have already gone ahead and cut mine out. So I am going to be stamping the cute little kitten in a box on this piece and a little bow that's in there on this piece. Oh, and a third piece, sorry, I did forget, there is a little decoration as well. So going back to the original card, the pieces you're going to have to stamp are the little kitten in a box, the little bow, and the little decoration that's hanging. So that's our number 1 step on this card. So let's just grab our stamp set. And I've actually already pre-put my stamps onto their blocks. However, I will use this little piece underneath my stamping just to make sure that the stamp image comes through nice and clean. Having this bit of sponge underneath always helps to create a nice clear image. Right, I'm just using some black ink here. I'm just going to ink up my little kitty in the box. And it's a little hard for me to see, so I'll bring this closer down. Straight down, and I tend to like to hold my ink on for a few seconds. Don't wriggle your block because that can leave a wobbly line, but just by going straight down, holding it for a few seconds and then pulling it up, you get the best image. Now to clean, I did have a question about cleaning your stamps. These are our stamp chamois. You get them in a pack of 2 if you purchase them, and all you need to do is wet them under the tap, and then I store them. I actually have to store them in this cute little box with a lid, but it's quite good that they get aired, but just for transporting I can shut that up, and it just allows me to have a nice stamp cloth handy. I wipe over my image, peel it off and place it straight onto my carrier sheet. Right, so we've also got our cute little decoration a little hanging decoration to stamp. And so I'll wipe that one off as well. And then the little bow that's going to go on top of the kitty's head. Now there is one right way, if you do have the die cuts, for that bow to go onto the piece. Alright, so that's our initial stamping done. So we'll set those aside. We're going to have to colour those in shortly, but I'll just give them a little while to set while I carry on with the other base piece, which is this piece of white daisy, which is actually 3 1/4 by 2 3/4. So it's a little rectangle. So the first thing we're going to do is some background stamping. So I have chosen the words "wishing you a perfect Christmas" because I am doing a little cat, and it's quite handy to have a little bit of scratch paper, a little bit of rough paper underneath. Let me just see if I can find some, because we are going to do a little bit of random stamping over this piece, and we want to go off, and I just don't want to make my foam too marked, I guess, with all the ink. We're also going to do it second generation. So I'm inking up in the evergreen stamp. Now again, if you don't have a green ink pad, just do it in black and do second generation with that, so it looks like light grey. So I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp onto my piece, so it's a lighter shade. I'm going to do that again over here, inking it up, stamp off, and then across a little way to have it going across the page. Now I'm going to do one sort of in the middle so that the whole words do get seen at some point, but there is a bit of overlap, so that's fine. We're just creating a background stamp. So just down, and I'm just going to carry on. And as I say, a black, which would look like grey, black ink, which would look like grey, is absolutely fine if that's what you've got to work with. There we go. As simple as that. You can do as random, you can do as few or as much as you want as just a background look, but it gives us a little extra sentiment on the front part of this card. Sorry, get my words out today. Right, so we've got that one ready to roll, and then there is one last little piece we can do in preparation. Now this is optional, and it is only if you have these supplies in stock, and it's just something you might consider for a future date as well, because it's kind of fun. So I've got this Gilt Gloss Spray. This is one of our new colours that came out with the new annual book. And what I'm going to do is grab both my black piece and that white piece, and I'm going to pop them inside a box, just because this can be a little bit messy. And you'll see this box has been used before, because there's already some marks on it. And I'm just going to spray on them. Now this is a little bit like being a confetti artist. And if I spray from a distance and press down hard, let me just get it started. Oops, it looks like it might have just got a little bit clogged up. We'll just get a little bit of water on it. That's my fault. I should have wiped it out when I last used it. Let's just get it started again. There it goes. So when I press from a distance and hard, it just comes out a very fine spray. So you'll be able to see, possibly from a distance, that it is quite fine and light. If I go closer and press slowly, it becomes, let me just see if I can do it, a lot more spotty and defined. So you can definitely see there, that's a lot more defined and spotty. So I'll just do a few more. Oh, okay, I've done that quite a bit. Now I'm just going to go from a distance with a few little slow pieces to have a few dots there. Now I must remember to wipe off before I finish, so that I don't have that little clogged up issue once again. And that's it, nice and easy, but what it's doing is just giving us a little bit of shine to the finished card. So we'll take that box away, and that doesn't take long at all to dry. So they're going to be ready to use very soon. So I'll leave them up at the top to finish off their drying. And what I have to do now with these little pieces is a little bit of colouring in. So we have got a cute little kitty. I'm going to keep him grey, so I'm going to use the brown grey blend. Start off with a bit of light colouring in all over when it's the light one. And then while the light surface has just been applied, the marker ink will be a little bit damp, and that's why it allows us to blend nicely with the darker shades. So it's a good idea, if you're colouring in a huge image, which we're not today, to do it in sections, so that you've still got a little bit of dampness to the ink when you switch colours and do your blending. So I'm just finishing off this cute little kitty. Because I've only just stamped this, a few minutes ago, there is a little bit of bleeding with the lines, the black lines, and I have to be a little bit careful. Right, I'm going to go on to my dark end now, and I'm going to add a few little bits of definition. We've done this a few times now. You've seen these pens in action, which is always pretty cool because they are pretty nice pens. Just going to do a little bit of a bit across there as well. And I'm going to bring in now the medium section. Finish off those little paws at the front and give a little bit of definition where I left off the rest of it. Just let it see, you can sort of see it all seeping together. And I'm going to go back to my little light side and blend it all together. I just really love how easy it is to do all this blending without having to worry about finding the right colour to blend it with. We've got all three shades we need in the one pen, so it's nice and easy to work out where do we go to add a little bit of extra colour. Right, the next section we're going to do, I'll pop in a little bit of green for the eyes while I'm here first. And I'm using the light green blend for that. And I will also pop in a tiny bit of pink over the top of the grey, just for, you can just see a little hint of it for the ears and the nose. Right, now we're going to do the box. So the box, actually I didn't bring the right brown over, I've got the gold brown. I could use that, but I do quite like the deep brown, so give me 2 seconds. The colour we're going to use is the Earth Brown blend, which is a really nice richer colour and it looks great for that box. So once again, I'm just going to start off and do my little light shading, which doesn't look particularly light because this is a richer colour. And as you can see, I'm just going to turn this over and show you, because it's quite a rich colour and juicy, it does come through the cardstock, even though our cardstock is quite a good weight. It does come through, so this is why we like to sometimes cut our images out separately before colouring them in. If we're colouring directly onto the card front, when you open up the card, you're going to see a lot of these images come through, which won't look quite so finished and polished. Right, so I'm just going to go around all these little edges of the box. And because they are so nice and rich, it doesn't really matter which direction I colour in, because I'm not going to be left with lines that are a problem. You know, when you use your felt pens and you have to be very careful to keep your lines nice and even, otherwise you see how uneven it is. That doesn't happen with these markers, which is great. Always good to be nice and quick. And once I've done the light shading, I'm just going to go around with some shadowing. And if you look at my original, you'll see that I've shadowed as though there's a little bit of depth coming under the box here. So I'm just going to go down underneath, because obviously the lids are going to create a bit of a shadow. And it's all seeping in nicely as it stands actually. There's going to be a bit of a shadow at the base. I'll just do down the sides as well, but at the base, just because there naturally would be with a box. And I'm going to go down the centre as well and just get a little bit happening there. Right, on the top there's going to be a bit of shadowing under the pores. So let's just define those pores a little bit. And that's probably the majority of the shadowing. I'm going to bring in the middle colour now, just to blend in those edges that I've just gone through for the shadowing. Just a little under where I went with the dark one, but also over the top of the dark one to help blend it better. It's looking pretty good. Oh, and I haven't done the little blending around our little pores. Pretty cute. And we can go back to the lightest one to finish off the blending properly, just by going over the entire section once more. And as it dries off, you're going to see just that hint of colour, different light and dark colours coming through without it being too defined, like it might appear initially. Okay, we'll let that colour dry off. There we go. So that's kind of a fun box. It looks pretty cool. And then we'll just finish off with a little ribbon, which I've chosen the red, just to contrast with the green that I've used for the photo mat. And I'm using the dark red blend, and I find the darkest shade of the dark red blend the best. So I'm not going to do any shading here, just go straight in with the red. We've got a little cute ribbon going on at the end. Now, if you are one that goes over the line a lot, and I am a little bit today, but I'm not too bothered, but if you're one that does go over the line quite a bit, you might like to have our blending marker that comes with the set handy, because it's kind of like an eraser. So if you went over the edge, by using the blending marker, it pulls off colour. So it brings it away from the image, and then you don't see your indiscretions quite the same, which is kind of a handy thing. Now I'm just doing these little ribbons. In the ribbon, there's kind of a little oval at the end of each section, which is kind of like, I suppose, the underside of the ribbon peeping through. So I'm just keeping those white so that we've got a bit of a differentiation between the ribbon itself and the underside. Just allows us to really visualize that there is nice loops in the ribbon going on. Almost there, and a little bit in the centre as well. There we go. Now the last thing is I'm going to pull out that lighter brown, the gold brown blend, just to add a bit of gold onto our decoration as well. This is the colour I did use for the little kitten on the other card. That was a lighter shade. I'm just using the darker version of it. Right, so there's our little pieces coloured in, all ready to be put together. So what do we do now? We grab our background stamped and, if you've done it, spritzed look, and we're going to adhere that on. Now there are a couple of ways of adhering it. You can use glue, and I have a green or a blue glue. The green glue is a little bit more flexible. The blue glue is a clear glue, but it comes out quite stiff. Or you can use a tape runner like this, which is a permanent adhesive once it's dried off. There is a bit of give with this, so you can put it down and think, oh, it's not quite straight, pull it up and move it and you'll be fine. But if you leave it there for 5 minutes or so, you won't be able to do that without tearing the paper. So that's the first stage. Then you can consider, if you wish to, foam popping up the little elements that you've got here. You can keep them flat, absolutely no issue. If you want that little bit of a shadow, you can use the foam squares or the foam tape, whatever you've got in your stash, to make it stand up a little bit. Just put a few on there. And I'm going to put the little ribbon flat so that it's sort of sitting a little bit back from the front part of the kitten. Just pop that one on first. So I'm just going to put this one flat with my tape. Oops, there we go. And I'm going to put this sort of underneath so it doesn't look like it's sticking up out of nowhere. This one could use a little bit of foam tape as well, so I'll just use a small piece. Peel this off. That's going to sit somewhere around here, and we'll just use our journaling pen to have the line going up to the top. Whoopsie-daisy, so that's as easy as that goes. You will notice on mine that I have chosen to put a little bit of gold thread behind this one. That's our gold embellishing thread is just one of the little ribbony options we've got in the catalogue. If you like that look, absolutely go for it. You might actually even have some cotton at home that's got a bit of colour to it that you want to put on. Same sort of look. I just twirl it around my fingers, use a little glue dot to hold it together, and then tuck it in behind. So I won't do that this time on the card, but that's what I did that time round. Now we've got this other piece here. We now need to adhere that to our card base. So as you can see, I've got the black piece and then I've finished off to make it even with journaling on the other side. So I'm going to use my our mat to make sure that I've got this centered, and I'm actually going to do it at 1/4 inch this time, all the way around, so I can see with my lines that I'm going 1/4 inch in and 1/4 inch in. Or maybe I'll do 3/4 inch. Yeah, let me do 3/4 inch. That looks a nice even amount all the way around. So I'll just go right to the edges with my adhesive. And oops, we'll put it back in here. I'm going to go 3/4 inch in and 3/4 inch down. And that should be the same at the bottom. Sorry, oh, I'm just a bit too far away to be able to look down on this. So I just hope I've got it right. That's good. And now I'm just going to freehand draw, continue this on, and just eyeball it roughly where I would say it was evened up. I am quite happy with wobbly lines. I like that slightly more organic look, so I've done it that way again this time. And then this is just going to stamp and be stuck down in the centre. Nice and easy. One of the easier cards in this little series, but it still looks pretty cute, pretty effective. And I particularly love the look of that gloss, the gilt gloss spray. Inside of this one, I have stamped Merry Christmas. So let's just finish off and do that this time on this one. I just need my little foam tape again. Get my Merry Christmas. I'm going to ink it up in black. And before I stamp, just to make sure I don't want any of the extra ink to come down on my piece, so I just go around the edge with my cloth. If you've got a very good fitting block, you probably won't get that, but if you're using a slightly large block for the stamp, then you could end up with little lines that you don't want because it's got ink on the block. So just always keep in mind that before you start stamping. So that's it. That is done. Nice and easy, cute little card. Finish off with a few gems like I have if you want a bit more bling. But otherwise, hey, Merry Christmas. I'm wishing you a perfect Christmas.